everybody. Just wanted to put together a quick little video to give you some help with something. Well, actually, okay, I'm being selfish. It's something to help me. Okay, but actually, it helps absolutely everybody. Okay, and what I've got here is one of the solutions that was handed to the one of the labs this week. And I just want to talk about the organization. Now, obviously, somebody's going to look at this and say, hey, I got an answer to a lab question. Well, yeah, I mean, there is an answer to the lab question, but remember, you need to learn how to do this on your own. So if you haven't done the lab yet, just don't copy what I've done directly. Okay, but in any case, here we go. This particular program here asks the user to enter 3 words, and what it's going to do is it's going to form variable names and constant names. Okay, so just to let you see what it looks like, you can see I've already done this once before. If the first word is 1, the second word is 2, the third word is 3, and you want it to form a variable, the variable's name would be called, and you can actually see I got a bit of an issue here. It's 1, 2, 3 with the T's being uppercase and the O on the 1 being lowercase. This is called camel case, by the way. Or the constant name is basically the words that were put in here, all in uppercase with an underscore between them. Okay. Now, this is kind of interesting that this popped up this way because this is exactly what I want to talk about. The reason why we're seeing this issue is because the output is too wide for the screen. Okay. Now, let's not worry about the output showing up right yet. I'm kind of concerned about the code. You see, this line is fine, this line is fine, this line is fine. This line right here, I have kind of an issue with because the problem is this, basically, the line is too wide for the screen. And I can't really see what's going on unless I scroll all the way to the right. And that is very, very unpleasant to do, especially if you're in a hurry. So one thing that we often try to do in programming is we try to make everything visible to the user as much as possible. And to have a super wide line like this, it's just not all that convenient. All right, so here's what I want to do. You see, the student who gave me this answer right here, sorry, now I got to scroll across again, you can see what the problem is, has used this particular approach for creating a variable name. Okay, they took the individual 3 words and they either applied lower or capitalize in order to get them. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy this because, you know, one thing we can do to sometimes reduce the size of something would be to introduce a variable. So let's have it this. Let's call it a variable name could be equal to this. And of course, well, you know, the cool thing about this is, well, now I have a variable and I can see the entire thing, which means that now if I wanted to, I could fix up my code by removing all of this big, long stuff which is inside the curly braces, and I could replace it with variable name. Okay, you know what? Let's keep doing the same thing. I know it doesn't solve the problem yet, but it is getting us a little bit closer. So same idea here. Now this one is actually a little bit funny because they use 3 separate curly braces for the variables, and in reality we probably only needed 1. But let me copy what I've got here because I want to introduce another variable as well. Okay, so same as before, and I'm going to call this the constant name. Okay, and it's not going to be this, it's going to be a little bit different. Okay, now of course what I'm doing right here doesn't work. Okay, and that's because, well, if you want to have this extra string, you'd have to do something like this. You'd have to use this in quotes, or if you're super clever, you could probably use an F string here as well. I'm not going to. Okay, and here we go. Here's the underscore with the plus. Okay, once again, I've now got a constant name. And again, this is kind of preferred to say what we had before because at least I can see it on the screen. Plus, it gives us the extra niceness that we now have a variable. All right, so let me close this up and we'll replace with the word constant name. Okay, let me save this and run it and make sure I haven't made a mistake because that sometimes happens. Okay, so we'll say bad programming course. Okay, so there you go. All right, so we have the bad programming course and we have bad programming course here with the underscores. That's exactly what I want. Oh, by the way, what I've just done here actually has an important name. We won't really see it in this course, but you will see it if you continue. It's called refactoring. Refactoring simply means that you're going to modify an existing program. It still does the same thing, but you're doing it in a different way. All right, so this is a refactorization. Okay, now I want to solve one final problem right now, which is I want to be able to see the entire string on the screen inside this program. The output, that's a different problem altogether. I can't address that today, but I can definitely address the programming aspect. You see, I can really see up till about this point right here called name. And it would be really nice if I could just press enter right here so I could see the next line. But of course, you can tell right here, it doesn't work. Okay, if you want to be able to break a line like this, it is possible. Here's what you do. You have to terminate the previous line. Notice that I've left a space in because I still want a space between the word name and the actual name of the variable. So I've left a space and I've terminated the line. If I want this statement to continue on the next line, all that I do is I include one backslash here at the end, and I can start up a brand new string here. All right, so what I've done is I've basically taken a big long string and I've broken it up into a couple of lines. Okay, so here, let me do it one more time, and we'll run it another time. We'll call it fun course marks. Okay, here we go. Ooh, okay, so I've got a bit of a problem because now, of course, it is showing me curly brace variable name. Well, the reason why it's doing that is quite simple. It's because this needs to be an F string as well. All right, so here we go. Let's run this one final time, and hopefully we've got this. So we'll say, help me now. Okay, here we go. So at least things are now functioning as they were. And of course, the important thing here is that I've been able to take a pretty long line and I've been able to divide it into multiple lines. And sometimes it's helpful. Unfortunately, if you're using F strings, you still have to get this F in front of the next part of the string. You can actually use this backslash to break up other things other than just strings. Like, for example, let's suppose that this was a really long line and for some reason you wanted to be able to break this into two lines. You can do exactly the same thing here, okay? And just one final demonstration to show that it is in fact working. Okay, so we'll call it A, B, and C, which would be a really bad set of names, but it does work. And you can see that, yes, I can use the backslash at any point in order to have a line continuation. Okay, so it's not absolutely necessary, but it really helps when you have long lines so that the person reading your code can see everything on the screen. Obviously, another approach that I could do is I could just use a smaller font. But unfortunately, you know that I have to use this size font for the demonstrations in class. So if I ever need these, I will try to also remind you by doing them in class. So if anything goes off the edge of the screen, it's probably a good idea to use a backslash to continue on the next line.